Okay, but before we get too started, before we talk about too much of the show, or anything really, I just want it to be known, just want to put it out there, make sure the world's aware. Yes, I did get a very perverse and sick satisfaction out of watching Kingpin destroy a man's face on Disney Plus. I I utterly loved it, I gotta be real. When his blood was gushing out of his head stump and the car door kept going, I just remember thinking, wow, if I flip the channel, I can watch Higglytown Heroes. It's just really neat to think that the same place where Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck go on all their adventures, Kingpin is killing people with cars. God, there was some dark stuff in this show. Well, welcome everybody to. I don't even know what to call this show. I don't know what to call it yet. So it doesn't have a name until somebody else gives it one. Uh, but this is going to be my recap of season 1 of Daredevil. Little bit of background. I watched a lot of the Netflix Marvel shows kind of under protest. I When Daredevil first came out, I was very anti it because it wasn't canon to the MCU by my definition. So I avoided it like the plague. Then, when Jessica Jones came out and it was advertising all this mystery element, I was still somewhat against watching these shows because I was like, I love the MCU and these aren't canon. I don't want to. I don't want to put ketchup in my mustard. But then Luke Cage was announced that he was going to be in Jessica Jones, and I was like, well, fuck. I love Luke. I love Daredevil too, so honestly, I should have relented a long time ago, but I'm stubborn and an idiot, so that's why I didn't watch the show. And the first thing I will say is everyone who was saying I should watch the show, they were right, I was wrong, I don't know why I always do this. I always get in these situations where I'm like, everybody keeps talking about this thing, I don't want to watch it. And then I finally watch it, and then I'm like, yeah, it's great, it's wonderful, I should have listened. I, I don't get it. I don't get why my brain is like this. But nonetheless, I have finally relented and watched Daredevil. Daredevil is a character I've always liked in stories with other people. Like, I love him in Spider Man's dynamic, which is why it is so perfect that Daredevil popped up in Spider Man No Way Home. And doing that, my argument of it's not canon officially flew out the window. Kingpin showed up in Hawkeye, which I am repping. These shows, like it or not with Iron Fist, are now pretty damn canon to the MCU. Kinda hope Iron Fist can get a retcon there, but for all intents and purposes, the Marvel Netflix shows are canon, and I was binging them because, I want to watch everything in the MCU. And friggin' Jack said I should do recap videos at the end of each season and say how I liked it. And, I wasn't uploading anything at the time, so yeah, why not? Not making a commitment to watch everything, but for the time being, at the very least, we're gonna do all of Daredevil. We might do Jessica Jones, and we might go back and do Luke Cage. I don't want to do Iron Fist again. I have seen Jessica Jones season 1. Uh, I may have also seen season 2. I can't remember. I know I've seen Luke Cage season 1, and I have seen Iron Fist season 1. I have also seen Defenders, which is, of course, the crossover thing. And Defenders is when I started to get burned out. I didn't love Iron Fist. At the time, I was defending it because I was trying to be a contrarian. But in the end, whether or not it's as bad as everybody says it is, and I don't think Iron Fist is awful, it is very much, in my opinion, very not comic book accurate. But this is not a review of Iron Fist. This is a review of Daredevil. And what did I think of Daredevil season 1? Yeah, I was wrong. I should have watched it. I'm an idiot. You were all right. The characters are great. I loved Foggy. I loved Claire. Oh, God, I got so into it. To the point where when a character that had been around for a few episodes died, I'm spoiling the shit out of this, it's Ben, um, I was heartbroken because I loved Ben. Ben had a wife. He had this great connection with Claire. He was investigating Fisk in different ways. Just to have him killed off in an episode, it really hit me. I wasn't ready for it. And I'm gonna miss him going into season 2. I wonder how, I was getting into his storyline. I think we'll just get into that. So, let's start with episode 1. Episode 1 was probably one of the best origin reenactments I've seen. All the origin stuff in this show is really good. Daredevil specifically is nailed. Like, they got the chemicals, they showed off his powers in interesting ways. They're building up this, oh, well, he's not Daredevil yet. He's just the Mask. People call him the Mask, and then later people call him the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. And I like that legend builds around him before he takes a name. God, there's so much I can say about this show. And once again, this is going to be all over the place because it's not scripted or anything, and I'm a space case, so we'll get there when we get there. So, I just want to talk about the origin stuff a little more, because I loved Daredevil's father in this show. I loved seeing how he wasn't comfortable with throwing away all these fights, but he needed the money for his kid. He really wanted to help Matt overcome the blindness, and with a lot of his money and with time, he did succeed in helping Matt get into law school. He figured this out. He got his wish to a degree of he wanted him to use his brain instead of his fists. He got that. I really can't understate this enough. When you are learning about Matt and Stick's relationship and how he was actually trained to be Daredevil, and when you are learning about how he interacts with his dad, and he learns how to sew up people's stitches because his dad was a fighter. There's just little moments that really make me interested in this version of Daredevil. Mortis wanted a cameo. That really make me interested in this version of Daredevil. I like how they focus just as much on Matt Murdock as they do the vigilante side of things. For example, I was interested in the first couple of episodes when we were doing law cases. I think specifically when they have to defend one of Fisk's thugs so that Matt can get information that he can later use to find out who Fisk even is. It's really cool. I honestly want more court stuff going forward. I wish they would have had more cases. I wish they would have had more dynamics with each other. Honestly, and I think that would throw Foggy into the action a little more. It felt like whenever there was a big action scene, Foggy never even got to be a part of that. Occasionally Claire would, and Foggy did get to hit somebody with a stick, but I don't know. I would love a situation where Foggy gets captured and he is directly in Matt's other life. Especially now in season 2, where Foggy is aware who Daredevil is. I'm just really hoping, and I don't know anything about season 2 except apparently Elektra is in it and Punisher is in it. Sorry, I had to pet the cat for luck. A better YouTuber would edit that out. Not me. Man, I need to focus my damn thoughts. This version of Daredevil is very interesting to me, and I think the thing that instantly made me like him is they carried over the no-killing rule. Something Marvel doesn't really seem to focus on a ton. The only character that consistently is trying not to kill people during their superhero stuff is Spider-Man. And it was really refreshing to have this character who is in such a fucking gory show as well, who is actively trying to be like, no, I'm not going to kill people. He grapples with whether or not he should. And it gives the priest character a lot more to do when we get to hear these stories about how he went to different nations and saw the worst of people. However, he's still following God and he still believes that people can be good. It, it's just, they are nailing Daredevil. That is the biggest compliment I can give the show Daredevil. They're getting him completely right. However, I do have one small grievance, and it's a very small grievance, and I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm about to say and then kill me. I think Kingpin needs to be more comic book accurate. And here's the thing. When I was introduced to the character of Kingpin, and Daredevil actually, but I was introduced to Kingpin in the Spider-Man animated series. He was a big Spider-Man villain, and he still is a huge Spider-Man villain, but I think that's why Daredevil popped up in No Way Home, and who knows, maybe we could see Kingpin in the future with Spider-Man. I would love that. But the thing with Kingpin and me is I have always seen Kingpin as the businessman who will, like, he's kind of like Lex Luthor if Lex Luthor was even more shady. Like, if Lex Luthor was actively, like, the big criminal kingpin he could be instead of just trying to be the businessman side. Kingpin is kind of the balance of the two. And, like, he even has a very famous line in the animated series where he's like, we have to help Spider-Man. The end of the world is bad for business. In this, Wilson Fisk is not really a businessman. He's just a criminal overlord that's kind of out of the limelight. And what's interesting to me about Kingpin is he's kind of bad at his job in this. And I know everyone's gonna go, no, he had a plan, he had this whole thing. I'm not super convinced Kingpin was aware of what he was doing half the time. First of all, I want to say, I am not in any way insulting Vincent D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio nailed it. And every scene he's in, I am intimidated of this guy. This is not a problem with the character. This is not a problem with the actor. This is a problem with the direction they took the character. Because I loved Vanessa in the show too. I thought she was great. I think there is plenty of room to improve. I just want to see the manipulative side of Kingpin. Because I don't think we got that in this show. Here in this show, I think we see Kingpin kind of dealing with these new problems, and his solution is, let's take out the other crime lords, which you could argue was his plan from the start, because if he takes out all the other crime lords, he is technically cleaning up his city, but that is not what his plan was at first. That is definitely a reactive thing, and one of the more, one of the more evil members, he just lets go, Madame Gao. So, I don't know, maybe I missed something, maybe I wasn't paying attention, or maybe his acting was so subtle because, Jesus fucking Christ, sometimes that acting from Vincent D'Onofrio is just incredible. Like, he gets the character, and he is nailing it. I love his voice and how raspy but direct and controlling it is. I love how shaky his performance can be. To the point where, like, sometimes he does seem unhinged. And I do think the whole theme of this version of Kingpin is that his emotions are getting to him, and he's making decisions that are not the wisest for his overall goal because of it. I get that. I understand that. I'm just saying I want to see this other side of Kingpin that I am more familiar with. I would love it if in season 2 or season 3 he's going to jail, but whenever he gets out, I would utterly adore it if Kingpin had like a plan. Like he's spending every night looking at that wall. He's remembering his dad. When he gets out of there, I want him to have a plan. I want him to have things set up, and I still want him in the public eye. I thought that was the direction we were going with when he revealed himself to be a step ahead of Ben and Murdoch and Nelson. I thought we were going to see more of the businessman-y side of him there. And I'm sure some people would argue that this version of Kingpin is manipulative, and for the record, there are plenty of scenes where I am sure that is true. But my problem is almost everything he does in this show, he views it as more important to follow his emotions than to prioritize his criminal career. And to me, that is a little out of character for Wilson Fisk, the Wilson Fisk I know. Because I am very familiar with Fisk taking one on the chin and taking a loss for the bigger goal. I don't know if comic book, or just the Wilson Fisk I like from cartoons, comic books, and all that, I don't know if he would have killed that Russian mob leader. I don't know if he would have done that even though he's embarrassed. That being said, though, I do like this unhinged side of him. That's why it's kind of like a... That's kind of why I'm saying I have a very small grievance. I like that when he finally does kill his dad in defense of his mom, he admits later it had nothing to do with his mom. He did it because he wanted to do it. I like that. And there are plenty of scenes where when he does have to get violent, his voice changes, his face looks just so distraught, as if every time he has to kill somebody, it's breaking his heart. I like that. I think that's a cool aspect. The problem is, it kind of sacrifices the other side of Kingpin I would like to see. And I really hope we can get that later, and maybe we do, but I've only seen season 1 so far. That is my only grievance with the show, though, because even the side characters who don't stick around for the entire show's run are great. Like, I just brought up the Russian mobsters. One of the brothers, the one that lives longer, he was great. I loved seeing him interact with Daredevil and question him about philosophy. Question him about, where do I end up after this? What do you think you are to them? It was wonderful to see Daredevil chat with this guy who was, like, an enemy. He's been defeated. He is on the end of his rope. And the entire time, we are getting a more manipulative Kingpin in this episode. I think that episode where they're in the abandoned building is probably my favorite one, where Kingpin has fully set up this situation where the people in New York are going to believe that Daredevil bombed these places and killed these people, all in his pursuit to take out the Russian gang and then find somebody else to deliver the heroin for Madame Gao. I think that Foggy was also a big example of how well characters can be written here. When Foggy finally finds out who Daredevil is, and we see flashbacks to them becoming friends and how destroyed he is, the acting, my dude, god damn. He fucking nailed every scene. I love that he was still upset with Matt at the end. And even now, you can tell, like, when Matt makes the offer where he's like, we gotta go towards the future, Fog. We gotta. You can tell Foggy's not over it, and there are still some things he's not okay with. And I wonder where that's gonna go, too. I'm very excited by the first season of Daredevil. I think that I just want Kingpin to go in a different direction, and maybe he will. Jack has told me that Kingpin is great in the future. Jack has told me that next season the Punisher stuff is really good, so I'm really excited about that. Is there anything else I should go over? Oh, I love the suit, by the way. I will admit I kind of miss the 2Ds on his suit. I know you can't really do the naming of him being Daredevil and have the 2Ds on there because that doesn't make sense. A random cop can't name him if he already has 2Ds on his chest. That's ridiculous. I love the gaffy sticks. I love a lot of this show, and I gotta admit, I'm instantly a fan. I just wish, my only concerns going forward, I want to see more of the law stuff, because I think Charlie Cox nailed it. Like, when he has to give that speech about, whether or not his client is guilty or not, and he says, I can't speak for the moral obligations of my client, but I'm gonna follow the evidence. That speech was very interesting and so cool. There's just a lot about this that I wish I could dig further into. And it feels like the show kind of goes in a different way. Although, that also could be argued that's the point, because they need to focus on their villain, and they need to focus on Daredevil. And that is definitely a huge focus. So maybe now in the future, now that we have this set up, because this is the origin season, maybe now we can see those different directions. I don't know. I think all I'll say is, while the side characters were great and the acting was top-notch, I think some of the writing here and there needed some work. There were one or two points where I was like, I don't know if this would have worked, as the plans are dictating it, actually. I feel like that's very convenient for Mr. Fisk. And there's one or two times when Daredevil just happens to be in the right place to hear something where I was like, really? Alright. But honestly, guys, I am nitpicking an incredible show. It really was great. I really loved it. The action is top-notch. Every hallway scene is a wonder. If you are holding out for whatever the reason, it's canon in the MCU, and it's on Disney Plus now. Don't be like me. Go watch at least Season 1 of Daredevil. I'll let you know later if you should watch Season 2. I'll give an opinion on that as well. But honestly, I think this is higher up on my list of Marvel things. I have made a huge list of Marvel content, which I actually have to update, because now that Xavier is in Doctor Strange, I gotta watch all the X-Men movies again, and I gotta put them on the list. But as of right now, I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. Don't judge me for not being professional, please. I'm gonna say that it is... You know what? I'm gonna put it at 17, which for me is right in between Guardians of the Galaxy 2 at 18, and Thor Ragnarok at 16. The thing at the bottom is Captain Marvel, and the thing at the top is Loki. I really like this show, and the season was great, and if they just take what they have and now push it in some of these different directions, like maybe we do see the more manipulative, less emotional side of Kingpin now, or maybe now that Punisher is going to be in the next season, maybe we can see how Daredevil deals with another vigilante. Which, honestly, could be really interesting, because a lot of this season was the public's opinion of him. Now what's his opinion of Punisher going to be? I am incredibly interested to go forward with this, and if you guys have any Marvel shows you would like me to watch, besides Inhumans, because you can't make me, please let me know what they are, and yeah, we'll check them out. And hey, maybe we could do this for other shows too. After all, I'm watching Dragon Prince right now, so if you guys want to hear opinions on that, I'm also always ready to talk about Sherlock, so yeah, I guess just let me know what you guys want to see. Do I have a joke or something to end on? I don't think I do. I don't have a joke. And this isn't set up for me to now make a joke. I just legitimately don't have a joke. And this isn't set up for a joke either. None of this is a joke.